All right, Bears fans, welcome back and bear down. And yeah, we still need to bear down. I've warned you guys about this. It's that time of year that we've got to bear down. But I can tell you, Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, the entire crew in Hallis Hall are bearing down. They're doing their thing, and they know which direction we're going. I'm not going to focus too much on that Kevin Warren interview, but I do encourage each and every one of you to go listen to it because it was very clear what he was saying. And the talking heads are either going to ignore it or they're going to excuse it and make it sound like it was something other than it was. But I do like what Kevin Warren had to say, and I'll leave it at that. Go check it out. Go explore it. It's worth listening to. But you've got all these other heads, Daniel Jeremiah, Albert Breer, Mel Kiper Jr., Rich Eisen. I mean, even the sports books, every fan is telling me how much the sports books are favoring other people or other teams to get Justin Fields. I will tell you guys, I understand the sports books. And when one fan told me there were plus 500 odds and minus 105 odds, that's a very clear indication that the sports book is trying to mitigate their loss. They're trying to get bets on both sides. So don't listen to all these things. Continue to bear down. What I do want to focus on is where we're heading with the NFL Scouting Combine. I'm not going to give you a bunch of my clear-cut takes at this point because I'm a guy that likes to watch the Combine. But I'll tell you some things I've looked at from previous years, and I'll show you some stats that I compiled together for this year. And I'll tell you one thing for me, it's easier for me to use stats to analyze defensive linemen, offensive linemen, tight ends, even quarterbacks sometimes. The wide receiver position is so hard to get right. There's so many different analytical things you can look into it. You have to watch the tape on these guys. That's not my specialty. I'll be upfront and admit where my weaknesses are. Watching the tape is not my forte. It's not my specialty, I should say. So I do trust a lot of other analysts. There's some guys I really trust when I look at it. But there's some things we can break down. So let's get into first we're going to go the last couple of years. So let's look at the 2022 NFL Draft. And these are guys, these are their numbers coming out of college, okay? So this is their 2021 year other than the left-hand side, okay? So I want to be very clear how we break this down. The right-hand side, that's how they were in college, and then where they got drafted was on the far right. The left is this last year, the 2023 season, so their second year in the league, and how they ranked according to PFF, and where they ranked in total yards for wide receivers. So Chris Olave was 17th in the league in total yards, in yards for a receiver, total yards received. 16th in PFF. So obviously he's kind of the cream of the crop of this one. George Pickens had a lot of yards, but he ranked a little bit lower with some PFF stuff. So still very solid pick at 20th pick in the second round, so 52nd overall. But there's some key things that poked out to me when looking at the successful receivers from this class. Now, some of these guys may break out in year 3. Some of them may fall by the wayside. Some of them already look like they're doing so. Like Tyquan Thornton started the year with injury, but he's never got a grip on the league. He hasn't hit a niche yet. But in this class, something sticks out that every one of these guys with over 60% contested catches in their college senior year, and this is just the guys that were drafted in the first and second round, because that's usually where you find your star players at wide receiver. These guys are the guys that are leading this class coming out of their second year in the league at the end of their 2023 season. So it's kind of interesting, but that doesn't mean everything, because now when we go to the rookies from this last class, here's the rookies. That doesn't bode exactly well. And I did throw Puka Nacua and Dontavian Wicks into this one. They were fifth rounders because they were kind of the standouts. But one thing that always scares me, and a reason I didn't want Dontavian Wicks last year as we went through the draft, was he had a 23.1% drop rate in college. And that's one of the biggest things that the Bears have struggled with this year. And I'm going to correct something. A lot of fans are saying the Chiefs had the highest drop rate. They had the most drops total. So the Chiefs had the highest drops total. The Bears receivers outside of you take DJ Moore and Cole Kmet out, and we led the league at drop rate by a significant margin. I've shown that on my other videos. I've shown how bad it was with Darnell Mooney, Tyler Scott, all these guys. They were having issues all day. 1 out of every 6 drops at best scenario. So dropping 1 out of every 6. So it didn't matter what Justin Fields would do. These guys were still not pulling their weight for him. So listen to that interview from Kevin Warren. You're going to come away with it seeing how he really feels about Justin Fields. He said some very key things about how we have momentum, and even indicated that our players know the system heading into next year. I mean, he said a lot of things, especially, earlier he talked about Justin Fields needing to stay healthy, and then talked about this upcoming year, the keys to success are staying healthy. I mean, there's so much. I don't want to make this video about that, but it was just such a big thing last night, and it's pretty clear the direction we're going. We'll just wait for the news to break for when we trade that number 1 pick, and then we can get into more of that stuff. But here's last year's class. Here's the rookies from last year. And Quentin Johnson, as we were talking about with drop percentage, that 14% scares me. And then you see how that translated, and he didn't have a very good season, and that was his big problem, was his hands. He was dropping like crazy. So that's a big thing to me. Contested catches are also a big thing to me, but Jackson Smith and Jigba had an 87.5 rate, but he didn't start the year off the best. But if you look at his second half of the year, he really came on strong. He really had a good second half of the season. Jaden Reed had a good season, though, 64.7% contested catches. But Jordan Addison only had 28.6 in college and ended up being, so far, outside of Puka Nacua, the bright star of this class. But a 3.6 drop rate, and drop rate's really important to me. So just so you guys understand the top numbers, drop percentages, their drops, contested catches, then passer rating when they're targeted. And then this is a category I created. It's called difference of passer rating. So you take the quarterback's passer rating and you take the wide receiver's passer rating when they're targeted, and you see how much that wide receiver elevated the quarterback or how much the quarterback did better without the receiver. And it's interesting when you look at Quentin Johnston, negative 15.2. His quarterback in college was better when targeting other receivers, but he was their number 1 receiver, and that can be a negative indicator. It can be a very scary thing. But the same thing happened with Rashee Rice. When you see both of them, though, and the same with Dontavian Wicks, a lot of that has to do with those drop passes. If they can fix that in the NFL, that doesn't become such an issue. Like Dontavian Wicks, his drop passes this year were not bad. So he got to the league, and he had good coaches, and he figured it out. All right, let's not waste any more time on that, because these are year 1 players. There's so many adjustments that can be made. I don't judge rookies as harshly, and you really can't deviate a lot of statistical information out of their first year without getting context. They need a year in the league. Same with Tyler Scott. He's not on here because he was a 4th rounder, but Tyler Scott had a lot of drops, but it's his first year in the league, and I do give a lot of leeway to my wide receivers in their first year. Although it's wonderful when you have the first-year breakouts. And that's what we want with this class, because this is a phenomenal class. According to everybody, consensus, this is a deep wide receiver class. So right now, these are the guys, and this is me compiling consensus of different places, about 5 different sites, including DraftBuzz, including Walter Football, including PFF and their rankings. On the far right is a consensus of where these guys will be drafted as of today, as of Valentine's Day, February 14th. This is where these guys will be drafted on their big boards. I highlighted the guys in red. You'll see on the left. These are the players that I'm most interested in at this point from what I have watched so far and what I've seen. Now, one thing I do want to point out with Marvin Harrison Jr., his drop percent was 8.2%. More than half of his drops came from one game where he was super hard on himself. It was a rain game, and he publicly let everyone know he was disappointed in himself, and it'll never happen again. And it's an anomaly. You take that one game out, and his drop percentage is close to 3%. And I do take things like that into consideration. He has sure hands. If you watch his game, he has sure hands. He doesn't drop the ball. He doesn't have an issue with the dropping the ball over and over again. Unlike if you look at other players like Johnny Wilson, who I have been publicly hard on, he has several games where he has multiple drops per game. And that's an issue to me if it's a constant thing. But Marvin Harrison Jr.'s was one rain game where it was a downpour, and he's their number one target, and he dropped several balls. He dropped 3 in that game. That's something I can excuse. There's a lot of things that you look at with these guys, And this doesn't tell everything. I'm telling you that from wide receivers. You can't take the entire picture off of a stat sheet. Not even the things that I'm creating here with difference in passer rating. Now you can take that and you look at it, and there are some guys that I'm very impressed with that I want to watch because of it. The guys on the high end, you look at Ladd McConkey, 25.6, Adonai Mitchell, 23.7, Xavier Legette, 27.2, Roman Wilson, 21.4. That is enough to make me say, I want to watch these guys more. And then contested catch percentage. Rome Odunze, 74.1. Brian Thomas Jr., 58.3. Devontae Walker, 58.8. Jermaine Burton, 58.3. Roman Wilson, 60%. That makes me want to watch these guys more. Now, I am a little biased on our first pick, and I don't think you can really take too much out of Malik Neighbors' negative difference of passer rating because Jaden Daniels had such a phenomenal year that it does make it a little different. But Brian Thomas did have a +9 while Malik Neighbors had a -1. But they're different. So, like I'm saying, the statistical data, you can only take so much. You've got to watch these players perform. I do want to see us take an X receiver and look at how many tall receivers are at the beginning of this draft. From those consensus, I mean, look at just the first rounders, those that they're considering number 2, number 4, number 7, 23, 27, 28 on the far right side. 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", 6'4", 6'3", and then Adonai Mitchell, 6'4". Xavier Legette was 6'3", but he lost 2 inches somewhere magically. But still, I like Xavier Legette. To me, he's a little bit bigger DJ Moore. And I use that comparison lightly, but that's what we do with all these guys. We compare them to different things, just like Marvin Harrison Jr. is being compared to Calvin Johnson. Well, he's 20, 30 pounds lighter than Calvin Johnson, so that's not really a realistic comparison either. It's just some of their things in their game make us look at them. So I did this wide receiver one first because this is our biggest need. And early on in mock drafts, I did a mock draft where we take Marvin Harrison Jr. and Xavier Legette in the first 2 rounds. Now, Xavier Legette might not make it to the second round, and now he might, now that he lost 2 inches. Who knows? But I took both of them, and I got scrutinized for it. But that's the biggest need in the Bears is the wide receiver room. And with a class this deep, with this many guys, and how much potential there is here, I do want to see us go for 2 wide receivers, and I do want to see the first one be, now this might surprise some people because I have been open in saying Marvin Harrison Jr. no matter what, depending on the trade partner, because I don't want us to get stuck with Washington if they won't play ball. I do like Rome Odunze a lot. Look at the sheet right there. 74.1% contested catch, 3.2 drop. He's quick. He's tall. He's very intelligent. If you watched from Radio Row during the Super Bowl, he's a smart guy. He's very intelligent, and I love his humility. So I like Rome Odunze a lot. He's growing on me. I've never said anything other than he's a wide receiver 1. But am I going to be upset if we don't get Marvin Harrison Jr.? Only if we get Rome Odunze. I want one of those 2 guys. So I'm going to adapt what I've been saying to Marvin Harrison Jr. no matter what, to Marvin Harrison Jr. or Rome Odunze no matter what. And I won't even be upset if Ryan Poles takes Rome Odunze number 2 over Marvin Harrison Jr. Is that likely? No, not really. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the consensus clear-cut number 1 wide receiver in this draft for good reason. But I do like Rome Odunze too. So I'm just saying I'm very open if we do end up trading back to, say, 4 or 5, which aren't likely trade partners, but 4 or 5. If we end up trading there and we get Rome Odunze instead of Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm very happy with that. So I'll leave that up. You guys can check that out at your discretion. This really wasn't meant to be I'm focusing or forcing one person or the other. I want to leave these stats up here because if any of you are nerdy stat people like me and you want to see this type of stuff, here it is. I've compiled it for you. And these are the guys we're looking at, and I really do expect us to take at least 2 of these guys from this top 90 prospects in the draft. In the first 3 rounds, I expect us to take 2 of them. That's only going to happen if we do trade down that number 1 pick, which is becoming more and more surety in my mind. I've gone from 95% to 99.99% that we're trading the number 1 pick. And you can ridicule it, you can debate it, you can say whatever you want. Soon we'll know, all of us will know, and it is what it is. All right, thanks for checking it out. Wide receivers heading into the NFL Combine. We're 2 weeks away. I will do a lot of stuff once the Combine is done, stuff with RAS scores, stuff with players who stood out. We're going to do a lot of that stuff. I'm going to try to get some short videos like this out for each position to show some statistical stuff so you guys can look forward to it as we go into the combine, kind of get your favorites as we lead into it. Hopefully you guys all have a great Valentine's Day. I hope it's a great day for all of you and that you share love with your loved ones. Show love to your kids, to your wife, to your husbands, to everybody. Show love to everybody, even the Bears fans who want Caleb Williams. Show them some love too because they obviously need it. Till next time, bear down.